Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Get Stuck on Sports TV edition right here on Thumb Coast TV. I'm Brady Beedon. He's Dennis Stuckey. And Dennis, it was one of the most chaotic days of the high school sports calendar. District Saturday and one on Friday, but the districts were wild. We're going to start in baseball because the winner of the weekend is Port Huron Northern in both baseball and softball. Both sides win a district title. We'll start with baseball. They were a benefit of the random draw. That's how they seed the district. They got matched up with Port Huron. A bit of a weaker team. They throw Owen Hill. He gets double-digit strikeouts, couple of hits. Taylor Falls, 2 triples. Keegan Finn had a few hits in the game as well. They win 9-0. Nothing unexpected. They got to save their ace Taylor Falls for the district finals. Meanwhile, Anchor Bay had to play Romeo in the semifinals. They each throw their ace. Ty Finkbeiner, the number 1 for Anchor Bay, who's going to Michigan, might get drafted. They had to use him. They got him to the district finals, but then Northern got their number 1 against Anchor Bay's number 2, and their number 1 pitched like an ace.
Yeah, Falls was terrific. Northern did just enough. They got him an early lead, too, which was important. They scored in the first and the second,
Yes.
Got up 2-0, tacked on a run a little later in the game. So it was the perfect storm for Northern. The system worked for the Huskies, and it set them up for the way that they could win this district, and they played it perfectly.
Yeah, and everyone did what they needed to do. They shut out their way to a district title.
That's even more impressive.
Yes, and it's been a while since Northern has won a district title. I have no idea the last time both baseball and softball had each won a district title. I mean, softball.
If ever.
Softball, this was their 4th one when we talk about it in the next segment. But Northern, huge win for them. They move on to the regional semifinals where they play another team that pulled off an upset. Lake Orion upset Rochester Adams. Lake Orion was just a 500 team in the regular season. Now, Northern probably has to throw Falls again. Maybe you wait because you don't want to throw them on short rest. I don't know. But you have a chance to win this game.
Yeah. And my guess is on Wednesday, if he can pitch, I think you have to pitch him and hope that maybe you can get out to a big lead and then you don't have to use him as much.
That would be ideal. I mean, just to get to this spot is impressive because let's be honest, we'll call a spade a spade. This season for Northern had been marred in disappointment. They had some guys leave early. They had an injury or two that knocked guys out for the season or limited guys. They struggled in the MAC Blue. They did not play well. So getting this district title, basically all is forgiven. How many times have we talked about it where a team wins a league title and then they bow out early in the playoffs and you go, well, you leave a bitter taste in your mouth.
And nobody remembers that you won the league title.
Right.
They'll remember for a little while that you won a district.
And yeah, they'll forget that you struggled in the regular season. You come back, you win a district you weren't supposed to win. Big thumbs up for Port Huron Northern. Let's go to D2, where I was at in Richmond. It started off back on last Tuesday when Marysville upset Richmond, and they were the better team over the Richmond Blue Devils. They run past Richmond in that one 7-2. Was never really a contest. It was a heck of a game from Marysville. They went down 1 run early, got them back, and then some. They moved on to Saturday. That's when they played Lutheran North. Lutheran North's a really good team. I think we said it on this show and our podcast going into it. They were the favorite. Now, they weren't a heavy favorite, but they were the favorite coming in. Lutheran North got out to an early lead. Marysville bounced back. It got to one point. It was 6-3 Lutheran North going into the 7th. Marysville pushes across a run thanks to an error and has the game tying run on. First and second. Man on first is the game tying run. 2 outs in the 7th. They try a double steal. Kid gets thrown out at third by 10 feet. It was a decision that I think they're going to be thinking about at Marysville for a while.
You get what their thought process is. They want to get that second runner into scoring position where a single ties the game, but it's a risky move and it backfired on them in this one, and so it kind of ends up looking bad.
So Lutheran North moves on to the district finals. St. Clair and Armada, a matchup that has our outlook on this matchup has changed wildly. At the very beginning of the year, it would have been, hey, St. Clair's the favorite. And then Armada got off to a hot start, and we're going, okay, St. Clair's now the underdog. Armada's going to have a chance to take control of it. And then Armada had a terrible month of May, and it capped off with a terrible performance here. I mean, St. Clair came out. In the first inning, it was 6-0, and then game over. Tigers were just dead at that point. 8-1 was the final. St. Clair was never in doubt about winning this game after inning number 1.
Armada ended the way they played the second half of the season. They really struggled. It's good for the Saints to have the big inning like that, but when you sent me at 6-0, the thought that actually jumped in my head was, geez, I hope they didn't score all their runs for the day because they're going to need a few more.
Yeah, so they cruised to beat Armada 8-1, setting up Lutheran North and St. Clair in the district finals. And Dennis, this was just the biggest district final. Listen, I love a lot of people at St. Clair. I've covered them, have a lot of connections there, a lot of good people in St. Clair. But I've got to call it like I see it, and it was just a performance from them. They lose 7-0. They had one inning where they threatened, and that was the 6th when they were already down 5-0.
Yeah.
So even if they'd have to get a few more hits to really make the game interesting, they got absolutely diced up by Lutheran North's pitching. And like you said, first inning of the first game of their district, they score 6 runs. In the following 12 innings of at-bats they had, they scored 2.
Yeah, and those were in the games where they already had 6 runs.
Right.
So it didn't help them in the finals. We reluctantly have to admit that Lutheran North was the best team there.
And we knew that was a possibility going into it. But I was hoping someone would knock them off. And, after the first game, I'm like, St. Clair's rolling. They had the second game, so I thought they could continue it right at no. And that was the story of St. Clair. The bats go cold.
Yeah.
So Lutheran North goes on to a district semifinal. They were playing the winner of the district out in Yale. Yale beat Emily City 3-1. Low-scoring game. Spartans hung in there, just couldn't get the offense going, and Yale gets back to a district final. We expected that, but a nice effort.
And Yale never trailed in this game either, so while it was a close game, they were in control.
Nice effort from Emily City, but Yale was the better team. North Branch and Croslex went back and forth. It was 3-2 after the first inning. Both sides put up a run in the latter 6, and North Branch survived 4-3. But Dennis, you've been on this for a week or two. Croslex surpassed all expectations we had for them this year.
Yeah, I really, at the start of the year going into things and the way they played the first couple of games, I didn't think they were really going to be very good this year. And they just continued to get better and better and better. And they really surprised me at the end of the season of just how good of a baseball team they actually were. And shame on me for not picking up on it sooner. But, they had a chance to upset North Branch. And this was a district that I thought North Branch was going to win and fairly easily. And yet they struggle with Croslex, and then the Yale game happens.
Well, the Yale game started off all Broncos. It was 6-1 after 3 innings. And you're going, all right, yeah, North Branch is going to get it done. Because remember, last year, they were upset by Yale in the district final. So you're thinking they're not going to let that happen again, especially not after up 6-1. And then cutscene, 7-run top of the 4th. Now you're down 8-6. And what in the heck just happened?
And Yale did it against good pitchers. They beat up on Hutchinson, and then they beat up on Jens, and then finally Jerome came in to stop the bleeding. But by then, it was too little too late.
Yeah, and Yale tacked on a few more runs. There was 11-7 going into the final inning. North Branch could only get 1 run across, and Yale's back-to-back district champions in 2 districts, Dennis. Neither of us really thought they had a chance, but not a good one. And you know what? A big congratulations to Coach Fowler, the entire Bulldog team, because if you look at the starting lineup from last year's district title team and the starting lineup from this year's district title team, Not a lot of the same names in those starting
No,
nines.
like last year you could figure it because they had Geralden. So he gave you a chance against anybody that you played. This year they didn't have that one standout dominant arm. So it's been a great effort from a lot of different people. They got good pitching in game 1 against Imlay City. They got great hitting in game 2 against a good North Branch pitching staff.
So Yale moves on to play Lutheran North, and I'm going to say the same thing I said to everyone in the district. Coach Fowler, Yale, you've got to beat Lutheran North. Now, I'm very happy you pulled off that upset. That is an awesome story. Now you got to keep it going against Lutheran North. Don't fall short again. You can beat them. They're a good team. They are a very good team. But don't make me call another Lutheran North victory. I'll be at that game on Wednesday, pending the weather, because that can always mess things up. So Yale moves on to take on Lutheran North in the district semifinals, or the regional semifinals in Richmond. Go to D3. Go to Algonac. These two results were expected. Algonac 11, New Haven 4. Yeah. Marine City 18, Clintondale 0. Yeah. That was what we were waiting for. Then Marine City and Algonac matched up, and that was going to be a really fun contest. And Marine City's bats chased Cole Thaler from game number 1 without recording an out. It's 4-0 in the top of the first, and you're thinking, how is this happening? Like, Cole Thaler's a really nice pitcher.
Yes. A good arm there, and again, that's Algonac's strength, because I'm thinking 4-0. Algonac might be done because they really struggle to score runs, but to their credit, they battled back in this game.
Stephen Walther came in relief, and he actually went all 7 innings, only gave up 1 run the rest of the way. Algonac got a couple of runs back in the bottom of the second, so it's 4-2. Middle innings, they had a run. Next inning, they had another run, so it's 4-4. The top of the 7th, the last at-bats for Marine City. Guy gets on, error moves him over to third. Paul Muscat does his job. Sack fly to the outfield, and it brings in the go-ahead run in Vandeviver. Cooper Letzen was on the mound. He went 2 innings to finish off the game, get the win, and Marine City wins their 2nd district title in 3 years as they knock off Algonac, their first district in D3.
Yeah, and they'll get to go right back to Algonac and face Lutheran Northwest. I don't know a ton about Lutheran Northwest.
Lutheran Northwest beat Almont 6-5 in 8 innings. That was a back-and-forth game. They're a good team, but I don't think they're anything crazy that Marine City can't beat.
But I would have rather had a Marine City Almont game guaranteeing that somebody's going to the regional final. However, I like Marine City's chances in this game. They're a fun baseball team. They're a little different from our other teams. Their pitching is good, but it's their hitting that usually grabs the headlines. So they kind of slug their way to victories a lot of times, which is a little different than our other teams that we follow.
Absolutely. And the other thing I like it being at Algonac, Marine City Algonac, basically a home game for them. Rochester's a long way from Algonac, so you get a home field advantage essentially.
Yeah, there's no easy way for them to get there either.
So I like that for them. Cardinal Mooney, yeah, they did what
they're supposed to do, yeah.
There was never any doubt. We were very bold about it, I guess. Brazen about how
it's nice to be right once in a while.
How easy Cardinal Mooney's job was going to have. They were tied 1-1 after 2 innings with K-Pac, and then the rest of the district they outscored their opponents 24-1. They mercy K-Pac 11-1. They mercy Dryden in the finals 14-1. You didn't play with your food. Good job. You go up to Brown City to take on Brown City. Beautiful ballpark, by the way. So you'll enjoy that. I don't expect them to have much of a road bump there either.
No, they'll be the heavy favorite there. And then probably they're going to face Bay City All Saints because USA upset Ubley. One upset is nice. I don't know that we'll get the second one here, but hey, whether it's USA or Bay City All Saints, guess what? You're going to be the underdog against Mooney.
Absolutely. So that is all the baseball that happened over the last week and into the districts. We'll go look on the ladies on the softball side. Northern with their first district in 22 years. Marysville powers their way to another district title. Talk about all that and more when we come back right here on the Get Stuck on Sports TV edition here on Thumbcoast TV.
From doctor's appointments to work, shopping, and dining adventures, Blue Water Area Transit buses are the lifeline of our community. Depend on us for a ride that connects you to life's essentials. Blue Water Area Transit. Ride the wave.
Riding the bus will avoid the hustle and save you lots of dough. Road rage, don't chance it. Ride Blue Water Transit everywhere you go.
Welcome back to the Get Stuck on Sports TV edition right here on Thumbcoast TV. Brady, Beedon, Dennis Stuckey. Dennis, you saw a lot of softball over the weekend, and we'll start. This one actually happened on Friday. Port Huron Northern gets their first district title since 2003, and they did so in dramatic fashion. Maybe the best game in any sport we saw all school year long.
Yeah, it started with them taking care of business against PH. They won that game 10-0. They jumped out quickly to a big lead and got things over with in 5 innings, and then got to business right away with Dakota. They got off to a great start in this game, and at one point they were up 5-1 after 3, and at another point they were up 7-2 with 6 outs to get. And then it got a little crazy. Dakota scored 4 runs in the 6th inning, but they made a huge base running blunder where the girl got called out at second for really being dumb.
Essentially, the rule was, because I was there too, once the pitcher gets back in the circle, you have to commit to going a certain direction. She had rounded second, and Cruciano walked back into the circle, and she started like dancing both ways. And I described it as very little league. Like, come on, throw it back, make an error, and I can keep running is kind of what it felt like. And I will give the field umpire all the credit in the world. He knew it right away. He was on top of it, and he confidently made the call, which ended the inning and the rally for Dakota. And then the other thing that I thought was a little odd is the Dakota coaches went to protest the call. I wouldn't be yelling at the umpire in that.
Yeah.
I'd be grabbing my base runner and going, what in the world do you think you're doing in that? What were you hoping to accomplish there?
But I guess, too, in the heat of the moment, though, you're going to protect your player, even though you know they've made a mistake, and go after the umpire, hoping maybe you can get the next call. They did tie it up in the bottom of the 7th. But here's the thing. Dakota loaded the bases 3 times in this game, and they got 1 run out of it, and that came on a walk. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like the bases were loaded and, here's their 8 or 9 hitter. The bases were loaded twice for the cleanup hitter, who hit a home run in the game, just not when the bases were loaded.
Right.
And so that's one. Like, Dakota's walking the hallways today going, how did we lose this one? And again, give Northern credit because they blew a 7-2 lead late. Would have been really easy to crumble and let that one get away, but they get a big 2-out hit from Hagen in the top of the 8th to go up 8-7, and then they seal the deal with a 1-2-3 bottom of the 7th. Adeline Jones made 2 great defensive plays in the 8th inning. The first one was unbelievable, and even the last out, it was a really tricky hop, and she played it into an easy play.
It was a play you expect a 3 or 4 year veteran to make. And as fresh, there were 3. Charlie Betts started the game really strong. Adeline Jones made those plays at the end at short. And Eliana Cruciano gave up some runs, but kept a cool demeanor about her. And I think part of that is all the veterans around them, the Ramos, Shannon Falco, Hagen, all those names that we've been saying for 3-4 years, helped those players mature a little bit to know that, hey, they had each other's back, and it's a great mix. So we have to move on to the other teams.
Yeah.
But
I just want to say, Cruciano was 6 for 6 in the 2 games. hit 2 doubles against Dakota and was the winning pitcher. She was the MVP of that district.
There was a lot of strong performances. They go on to play Ike, who actually upset their way to the regional. I'd say they're the favorite in that game. Then they play either Utica, Ford, or Royal Oak. All I'll say is Ford was a top half team in the red. They're not any tougher than Dakota. They're still good, and that very well could be the end of the line for Northern. But that's a spot where they could win a regional, and then I don't want to look too far ahead. I can do it. I don't have to play the game. They have a chance in a quarterfinal should they get there.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to Division 2. This one wasn't much of a surprise. Richmond kind of walked their way to a district title. They dominated Notre Dame Prep 7-1. Lutheran North beat Armada 1-0 in 8 innings. So a thrilling game for the right to lose to Richmond 8-1 in the finals. Richmond was the foregone favorite to win this one, with Marysville and St. Clair in a different district. 2 teams that could have beat them gone. You know, Notre Dame Prep, Lutheran North, and Armada are all good teams. I would not say there was a bad team in that district. Richmond's just been playing at an elite level all season.
Yeah, and Katie Shoeboy is Katie Shoeboy. She struck out 29 in 2 wins. That's what she does.
I wish we could sit here and say more about Richmond, but they're going to go to the regional semis, play Orchard Lake St. Mary's. I think that they're the favorite in that one. And then they could possibly match up with the winner of District 60, where you were at out in Yale. Yale Croslex in Game 1. The big one was Marysville St. Clair in Game 2.
Game 1 was great. Yale fell behind 2-0 in the 6th. There was no scoring until the 6th. Then Croslex scored 2 in the 6th. Yale came right back with 2 in the bottom of the 6th. And then it went to the 8th inning, and another freshman, Aubrey Churchill, doubled home a run to win the game, to walk it off. And Yale was going to the district final, and everybody was getting ready for the big showdown against Marysville and St. Clair. And Marysville brought their hitting shoes because Haley McFarland was throwing the ball as hard as she could, and Marysville was all over it. They had 3 home runs in the first 4 innings of the game and jumped out to an 8-0 lead. The first 5 runs scored on homers. Tremp hit one out. Quain hit one out. Ryan Quain. She actually was the MVP of this district. And Reagan Horan hit one out as well. Picklehopped hit one for the Saints to get it to 8-2. But Marysville cruises to a 9-2 win. 2-hitter for Ryan Quain. She was... You know, she's got that edge to her, Brady, that I love. And when she decides to get mean and get tough, there's nobody better.
Yeah, and there's certain players, something you can't really coach or teach. It's when someone gets a little upset or is ready, and you can see that look in their eye when you go, they're like, all right, well, they're not letting that happen again, or you're going to see their game get raised at this point. So, yeah, that was awesome for Marysville. Really just dominated. In Game 1 against St. Clair, all the way back at the end of April, they gave up 11 hits and lost 8-4. In the 2 games after that, they gave up 3 hits.
Yeah.
And 2 of them were to Picklehopped.
They figured it out, and they did it in different ways, too, because the 4-0 win, they used Quain and Moore. In this one, they didn't need to use Clara Moore. They saved her for the district final, and Quain handled the business the way you're supposed to do it. And then we had the championship game, and it got off to a great start for Yale. They scored 2 runs in the first.
Well, yeah, everyone had presumed, like, all right, Marysville's going to win the district title. They just won it beating St. Clair, and Yale's going, we're still here.
Yeah.
We're ready to play this district final.
But then Marysville did Marysville things in the 2nd inning. They scored 7 runs, and you're thinking, oh, yep, okay, this is going to be a cakewalk. But no, they didn't score another run the rest of the game. Ryan Quain hit a 2-run homer to end the 7-run rally, and Marysville only had 4 hits after that. And Yale did a good job, and they didn't give up. They were very scrappy. They pushed 2 runs across in the 4th to make it 7-4, and you're going, there's still 3 innings left here. Yale's still playing ball. They got it to 7-5 and had a runner at third in the sixth. Couldn't get him in. And then, again, Quayne came into the game, and she was not going to give up anything in the seventh. She was going to make sure that the Vikings advanced.
Well, just a quick 15, 20 seconds to give a nice round of applause to Yale for a very strong season. Been a while since they'd won a district game. They have a lot of young players. That's a program you're going to have to worry about for the next few years.
They're bringing a lot back.
They were a doormat for the first 3 years we did it. Last year, you saw a little bit of glimmer, and they took another nice step forward this year. So I just wanted to give them props.
The big story last year was, hey, they won a BWAC game for the first time in 3 years.
Yeah. I think it was legit since 2019.
Yeah.
The last time they had won one. And they're a BWAC team where when they win games, you go, yeah, sounds about right.
Now, Marysville is going to go to the regional, and they are going to crush Lakeshore and get to the regional final. And then we're hoping they'll play Richmond, but it'll be Richmond or Orchard Lake St. Mary's, whoever comes out of that game.
Let's just things go our way and we get Richmond, Marysville. Isn't it nice to have this game be a regional final and not a district semifinal like it had been for a couple of years, where it feels like it's in the proper place? And again, we understand geography is a part of high school sports, that sometimes there's a high concentration of good teams in one area and they're going to have to play each other early. We get that. But we like the fact that they got separated, and now Richmond and Marysville have a chance to play for a big regional title trophy and not for the right to play for a district championship.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited for this regional. It'll be up in Croslex, which can be a fun park on the right day. And Marysville was mashing at Yale. There'd been one home run hit at Yale all year long, and Marysville went in there on Saturday and hit 4.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. One other D2 district we need to mention, Emley City was hosting. They beat Ortonville Brandon in the one semifinal 12-0. Then Goodrich blanked North Branch 6-0. Goodrich and Emley City met. Emley City got off to a 1-0 lead, held it for a few innings, but Goodrich ultimately won 3-1 to take that district. That's not surprising.
They were the favorite.
But I was hoping Emley City, who had a tremendous month of May. Again, we were sitting here, and for 3 weeks, it felt like we were banging our heads on the desk saying they're a good team. And at one point, they were, 3-11?
They started the season 2-11.
2-11, and they finished the season with a 7-15 record. 17-15, excuse me, 17-15. So you do the math, that's 15-4 down the stretch? So we feel a little vindicated for that.
They turned it around. They were playing their best ball coming into this district. They did to Ortonville Brandon what we thought they would. They had crushed them a couple of weeks ago too, 14-2 or something. So them winning big in that game. Goodrich was the favorite, but Emley City gave them a fight.
They did. I wish we could have gotten a district title there, because maybe with a little bit of luck, they could have made a quarterfinal. We could have had a repeat of last year, which was North Branch and St. Clair. Maybe this year instead, Marysville, Emley City. Would have been fun at SC4. D3 started off as we expected. Algonac 15, New Haven nothing.
Thanks for coming.
They showed up unlike Clintondale, which was the right call, actually.
Yes.
And then Elmont Marine City battled, and Madison Mackey, who's been had an up and down year, but we know has a high ceiling for Marine City.
Yeah, and pitched better down the stretch.
Yes. Pitched well, but Elmont got the 2-0 win.
Because Gemmel pitched well down the stretch.
And you could make an argument she's been at worst a top 5 pitcher. You could maybe make the argument she should be top 3 consideration in the area.
Yeah.
She has had a fantastic.
Although after seeing Ella McMillan, everything that everybody's been telling me about her is true.
And I don't say the top 3 thing lightly, but they go to the finals and Elmont gets up early 2-0. Algonac gets a run back, gets another run back, ties it 2. Then the freshman, Kylie Tenza, puts a ball over the center field wall in the 5th inning to make it 3-2. And now you're going, is Elmont going to pull this off? 6th inning, no one scores. They go to the 7th. It's still 4-3. And first batter gets out. And then Michael Kennel comes up, home run, 3-3, and now the game's flipped on its head. Next batter gets out, so there's 2 away with nobody on, and you're going, we're fine. They walk J.C. Reams. I get that. Morgan Reams gets a hit. Or, excuse me, they move over. Murray got the hit.
Yeah.
And then Morgan Reams gets the walk-off hit as Algonac wins it 4-3. They'll go on to play Wixom St. Catherine. It's been the case for the last 4 years where the regional has been easier than the district for Algonac. I don't think it's going to be any different this year.
Yeah, they'll play Wixom St. Catherine, and on the other side is Cristo Rey and Clawson, 2 teams that Algonac will beat if they get to the final.
If that game sees a 6th inning, Algonac should just automatically forfeit because
and on a season where it hasn't been a bad year for Algonac. They're the second best team in the BWAC.
But relatively
speaking, from what they've done in the past, people are probably grumbling in Algonac, going, we're used to being 27-2, and we're not. Well, you're in a regional with a chance to go to a quarterfinal.
Yeah. Yep. And I think they had a pretty good chance at doing that. So that will do it for all the districts that happened over the weekend. Join us next week. We'll talk about the regional semifinals and finals in baseball. Even the quarterfinals as well get played by Saturday. Softball, we'll know who's still alive. We'll talk about all that when we are back next time here on the Get Stuck on Sports TV
before
edition.
you wrap it up.
Go ahead.
Go Yellow Jackets. Memphis softball won a district, and I just want to get that out there.
All right, there you go. And maybe we'll talk about a regional title for the Yellow Jackets next week. But thanks for joining us here on the Get Stuck on Sports TV edition right here on Thumb Coast TV.